Well, it happened.
Snowpocalypse?
Snowpocalypse has it's an ongoing event, technically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
We're about 8 inches of snow so far, and we
Yeah.
should get another 2 to 4 today. So,
Oh, I mean, we had a similar experience. We have a dusting of snow, and it's over. So,
did you
yeah,
survive? Doesn't look like it.
I mean, I'm hanging on by a thread. But, so I assume there was no school today.
No school. Nothing is open. Everybody's home. It's great.
Yeah,
We just really extended our Christmas vacation by another day. Everybody's in the house. Nobody's gone. It's just all of us crammed in here yet again for another day. It's just great.
this is going to be taken the wrong way, but my we had like friends here over the holidays, and then my kids and Kelly, our daughter, stayed for the duration. And the day after New Year's, they all left. And the next 3 days were possibly the greatest 3 days of my life. It was quiet. I could stay up late, get up when I wanted to, do what I wanted to do, work. Yeah, watch some John Wick movies, that kind of thing. It was nice.
I got railed.
Oh,
Literally.
I'm
Look at
sorry.
this. Look at
Naming
this.
you. Yes. Oh, there we go. So you got your little
So I
the
actually did
rail
not
hole.
realize what I had
That's
ordered.
right.
I didn't realize I
Yep.
ordered two of them. They came bundled, which I guess makes sense. Maybe I
Yeah.
did know that. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, like top and
So
bottom. Sure.
I guess people on the audio side just skip forward 10 seconds or something. I don't know.
You,
This
it
is one
looks
of
like
like
you.
a series
It's
of
like a
pictures, but
clamp-looking thing.
what's that?
It looks like a clamp
It kind of
almost.
is. So
Yeah.
on the right is the very top of the standing desk. On the kind of like upper section is the rail that gets mounted to the wall. And
Mm-hmm.
then on the left, which what the clamp thing Paul is referring to, is the glide.
Yeah, for the right.
Yeah. So what happens is that you turn that around, so that's facing the rail, and then it only can attach either the top or the bottom. You have to like slide it on,
Yeah.
and then so I attached that board to the underside of my desk,
Mm-hmm.
so that it's then pushing. It's not really pushing, but it's just holding it in
Yeah.
place.
It's just holding it in place. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't like wobble and.
Yeah, it creates effectively a tripod, right? So then you have 3 points of contact with the ground or a solid structure.
Mm-hmm.
And now when it's at its max elevation, it no longer wobbles. I should say it no longer wobbles any worse than it did for my old desk, which I just had shoved up against the wall. So it's like completely acceptable.
The old desk was a desk or a standing desk.
So it was just it's literally the exact same desktop that you can see there in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
All my wife, what she bought were the standing like leg structure, because
Oh, I see.
that top was fine and I made it and didn't want to get rid of it.
Okay. Cool.
So there you go.
At least you had something to do while it was, the nuclear winter outside.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot more
That's
work
fun.
than I honestly thought it was going to be, because what you can't see, which I have a picture somewhere else of it, is to mount that piece of wood to that block. It's not designed to do that at all. So
Yeah.
it comes with a bunch of standoffs, like just think like motherboard standoffs. So
Oh.
you can't screw something all the way in. Like it gets like 4 threads in. It's probably about 8 threads in, and then stops because it's designed again to be a standoff, not a pressure function. So what I did was on that board is I took a paddle bit and drilled down about halfway through so that only 4 threads would engage, and then put some washers in there, and then you can really cinch it down. You had to do it 4 times, get it lined up, and then it held that wood in place.
I put together a bicycle rack.
Basically the same. I mean,
Yeah, except the one thing I didn't do was secure it to the wall. So basically, what's going to happen is the two bikes are going to topple onto our car in the garage at some point. It will be my fault. So
it's good for the paint.
yeah.
The other fun thing, Paul, I'm going to say something that I don't think anybody in the history of humanity has ever said.
Okay.
Ready for this? I'm going to use Copilot on my TV.
Hold on. I got to reboot.
So
What do you? Oh, because
CES is here, and part of the announcements, I think, from both LG and Samsung, is that if you want to use Microsoft Copilot on your TV, it's there.
I don't think this is going out on a limb, but I got to tell you that the worst thing that ever happened to TVs, which might end up being the worst thing that ever happened to all kinds of things, including possibly cars,
Mm-hmm.
is that somebody, some engineer idiot, looked at this thing and said, you know what would make this better? Let's turn it into a computer. And so it has to boot up, and there's like firmware updates and then app updates and all this nonsense. And maybe I'm just old fashioned, but like I kind of prefer a display just to be a display, you know? I mean, I guess I get a big built in speakers or whatever, but, just some inputs and that's it. Empower, whatever. But yeah, so in this case, let's take something that is broken to begin with,
Hmm.
right? At least in the beginning of like smart displays, like you could have a discussion or a debate about the merit of what we're doing here. Whereas in this case, I think most people are like, I'm sorry, isn't it like in flux all the time and changing all the time? And like there's going to be some future change, by which I mean February,
Yeah.
where all of a sudden, this thing that was the point of it on the TV isn't even a feature anymore or whatever. This sounds stupid to me. Here's the alternative, I guess. Samsung, I think. CS is one of the stupidest weeks in our industry, because you will see news stories about smart sprinklers and smart pizza ovens and all kinds of stupid crap that if you see that on like a site, just stop visiting that site. It's stupid. It's a stupid waste of time. But Samsung announced, I think it was Samsung, they're going to use AI to do live language translations for TV shows and movies and things like that, right? Which actually, when you hear that, you're like, yeah, like that makes tons of sense. Like obviously a lot of content has those tracks built in, whatever, but you could watch it in, a foreign language for you, perhaps, and then have it do the
Hmm.
captioning in your language, even if that's not available on the soundtrack or whatever. So, like to me, that makes sense. And then you say Copilot, and I'm like, hmm, I don't know. I don't know.
Paul, much like this podcast, when I buy a
Yeah.
TV,
Hmm.
I want the dumbest thing possible. I just
Yeah.
that is that.
Yeah. No, that's what I mean. You just let the thing be the thing.
I'm
You know.
actually going to be curious to see if when reviewers or whoever people buy this stuff,
Hmm.
what if you can set this device up without it ever connecting to the internet? Because to me, that would be the
Oh
appeal.
dear God, of course. But what if I set the TV up on a submarine, Brad? What do I do then?
Yeah, we have something for that. It's called a CRT, right? Like that's
you know, there's in many ways misguided movement or sets of movements toward like legacy technologies, like people embracing vinyl or CDs and things like that. And yeah, okay, but I do think there's going to be a market. In fact, this will be it will be like an artisanal display that features no smart features whatsoever and will come at a premium. you know, like. I would buy this thing right. Well, I wouldn't want to pay extra for it, but like I wish I could just get TVs and displays that were like that. I feel
that's
like they're
all
going
anybody
away.
wants.
I know it's
I mean, I take that back. There's probably some small fraction that says I want the whatever WebOS stuff because I use those
yeah, but
apps
those
and I don't.
people are wrong. They're just wrong. You don't want that.
Yeah, I mean, I block my LG TV from connecting to the internet now. But
Yeah,
the problem is I
smart.
made the mistake of letting it connect initially,
One, yeah, of
thinking
course. And now
like this
it's
will be
now
great. I'll
it's
get firmware
got
updates
this
and
in its
no.
head. you know. No, God, this is so stupid. Whatever. We'll see. I I look at like physical media as a great example. Books are kind of like this. So books didn't really go away, but I suspect most people are buying ebooks or whatever if they even read. And
I'm one of the holdouts. I don't like
I
ebooks.
know you are. No, I know. That's what I mean. They haven't gone away totally, but
Yeah.
like um, things like vinyl or CDs kind of went away. I mean,
Hmm.
almost literally, and are seeing a bit of a resurgence in both cases, mostly with hipsters, I would imagine. But I don't see like those aren't coming back, right? But dumb displays, I think, are maybe the only example of something like this that I think should come back
Hmm.
and maybe could come back, right? Where we finally just reject this. I mean, don't we all see this as stupid? It's like we're not going back to like carburetors and cars. Like I get this, like we're not, but like these dumb displays, which is maybe the wrong term, right? Maybe they should be called like secure core displays. like
Secure
they're
core.
so secure. There's like an air gap
Yeah, I want an air
between
gap
it and
TV.
the internet. You know, I don't know. It's just I don't get it.
The analogy that jumped into my head when you were talking about vinyls and whatever else. The
Hmm.
best analogy I can come up with, it's like buying a car with a manual today, right?
Yeah.
There's real no logical reason. Somebody's gonna be like, well, what? But like, actually, automatics these days are more fuel efficient and better than manuals. However,
Oh yeah.
if I'm
Yeah.
gonna go buy a Porsche or a BMW M3 or whatever, I want a manual because it's just you're more connected,
And
and so that's a
increasingly,
vinyl.
you can't even get that car.
Yeah. Oh
Those
yeah, it's
almost
got to
don't
be.
exist.
Well, you might be able to get manual. Some Porsches
We
that
always
come.
had manual transmissions, like
Yeah.
always. And there's pros and cons, whatever. But I have to say, the big the big advantage to a manual transmission isn't the fun of driving necessarily, because honestly, in most day to day driving, it's a chore. Like if you're
Oh,
sitting in
especially on like
traffic with a
stop and go
manual,
traffic. Yeah.
oh, it's a
Just
nightmare.
yeah.
Yeah, growing up like sitting in a hill, like my
Oh.
God, kill me. But but it forces you to pay attention,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can't zone out. You're not looking at your phone while you're shifting the thing, right?
Yeah. You have no free
You
hands.
can't. No, you can't. So I like that. I think is a minor benefit, but yeah, they're not. It's not coming back. I'm not
Yeah.
calling for that to come back. It's just not
I
coming
don't.
back.
I love them. If I ever can get a Ford or Porsche, like trying to find a manual is.
Yeah, no, that would be one of the few cars where but that's the type of car
But
that
that's a
would
weekend
have.
car though. So
They had the flip shifters
yeah.
like 20 years ago or more. I
Dude, my
mean,
wife's Ford Escape had paddle shifters. For I don't think we
yeah,
ever touched them once,
of
other
course,
than like when
except
we
by
test drove it.
mistake.
Yeah.
I had a car where you could. I'm trying to think what it was. I guess it doesn't matter, but it might have been by BMW actually, where you could. It was an automatic, but you could go left
Yeah.
and right with it, and then it would be in some manual shift mode, and you would do that by mistake all the time because I'm clumsy, and I'd be like, what? It'd be like, like what's this thing doing? But that stuff, it's just gonna go away, dude.
No. If you're not pushing your left foot down, then it's not a manual.
There you go. Look at you taking an old school stance. I like it.
I mean, that's. I mean, even the new super high end ones that have the paddles behind them, you don't. They're dual clutch now, so you don't even need that. And I get it; it's
Yeah,
better. But you know what? I'm not here. The difference
I know.
between a car that can go 0 to 60 in like 2.4 or get a true manual and it's like 2.7, you cannot. It does not matter. Take
Yeah, but so
the
what you
proper
sound,
manual.
I'm with you 100%, obviously. But what you sound like is someone from like the early 1900s who's like, these kids these days, like they don't even know how to fix the engine in a
Good.
car. I don't know how you own a car. And it's like, yeah, I mean, right. I mean, there's this skill that goes away. It's like cursive handwriting or
Mm-hmm.
anything else from the distant past, that's just gone. Like there's people are like, oh, you don't understand. It was whatever it was. And it's like, yeah, no, we understand, Grandpa. We got it.
But
But we've
Paul,
moved on.
the feeling of when you're going into a turn and you have to downshift to get out of it, beautiful.
Dude,
Yeah.
I once drove from the Penton office in, this was a rental car and it wasn't automatic, but because I grew up in the Boston area with all the snow, Mike Odie was driving behind me and he was like crapped himself. But I drove all the way from the hotel to the office, rather, and after a snowstorm. So the roads were all just iced up and destroyed. And I didn't use the brake, the actual brake in the vehicle. I just used
Mm.
the hand brake to
Yep.
do
Oh, nice.
every single turn was like one of those Tokyo drift, for a rental car. Um, when I slid into the parking spot, which I did sideways in front of the building, there was a guy out there shoveling or using a snowplow, and he was like just sitting there like, like because I would literally just like slid into the spot, like I was like nailed it. But
Like a
yeah, no, I
glove.
mean, you
Yeah.
grow up, and I don't know, it's just the way it is, and then now it's not.
I don't know. I'm sure somebody's going to complain that manuals or whatever, but I
No, of
still
course,
like.
no, and I get that, but that person will not be 18 years old.
Yeah, it's
That
not. I
person will
mean,
be our age range, or older. Dumb displays though.